I want to show you how easy it is to create a natural dye using marigolds. This is a great first time experiment if you've never done natural dyes before, because it's an easy process and marigolds are easy to find. So what do you need to do a natural dye? First, you need your pot of water. I always use a stainless steel pot. And once you use your pot for dyeing, you don't use it in the kitchen. This is why it's labeled dye pot. The second thing you need are your marigold blossoms. These I've collected from my garden over the summer and they have been drying, but you can use fresh blossoms as well. And lastly, you need your fiber. When doing a natural dye, you can use animal fibers such as wool or silk, or you can use plant fibers like cotton or linen. However, I always use animal fibers. I think the process is more simple and the colors just come out a more vibrant shade. It's the color I want. So these skeins may look the same to you, but actually they're very different. This skein has had nothing done to it at all. However, this skein has had a pre-mordant bath with alum. So mordanting the yarn, it's not necessary to do it with marigolds. You can do it just without mordanting. However, when you mordant yarn in natural dyeing, it helps the color absorb into the fiber so the color will stay longer. And it also can change the shade of the color, which is fun. So how do you do a mordant bath? You get these two things from your local grocery store. You can get alum and you can get cream of tartar. For 4 ounces of wool, I like to use 1 tablespoon and 2 teaspoons of alum and 1 teaspoon of cream of tartar. But this is a general formula, so you may want to adjust it as needed. And I'm going to dissolve those into warm water and then add my skein. You simmer it for an hour, don't boil it, and then it's done and you're ready to add it to the dye pot. And since I've already mordanted my yarn, we can go straight to it. So let's go. Okay, so I've got my hot plate going and my water is heating up. And now I'm going to just add my flowers. For this dye, I have equal part flour to wool. So you just add them into the water like this. And I'm going to give it a little stir just so that the water fully absorbs into the flowers. And now I'm just going to let it do its thing for about 30 minutes. And while that's happening, I want to prepare the wool, which is very easy. I'm just going to put it into a warm bowl of water, or a warm water in a bowl, because you don't want to shock your yarn. This is going to be hot dye pot. So after 30 minutes, we'll add the wool and then we'll see what happens. Okay, so it's been about a half an hour and I'm gonna check my dye to see how it's stewing. And I can see the water has changed color and it's this beautiful orange amber color, which is what I want. So before I add in my fiber, I'm going to mention that there are a lot of dyers who like to strain out the flowers before they add in their yarn. So if you want to do that, I would have this cook longer than a half an hour, perhaps an hour at the least, because you want to make sure that all the dye that's in those flower petals is going to be in the water. I don't do that. I just like adding the yarn in. It makes this nice, squishy, fun mixture, and I'm also just too impatient. So let's add some yarn. Okay, here's my 1 skein. I'm just gently putting it into the water, giving it a little swirl. And now I'm going to add in my 2nd skein. Okay. Same process. Little swirl just to make sure that it's taking a nice dye bath. And now I'm going to leave it for another 30 minutes or so, or until I've checked it and it reaches a color that I like, and then I'll pull it. Okay, it has been a little over an hour, so I'm going to check the progress of my dye and decide if it's time to pull it. The first one I'm going to look at is my unmordanted skein. Oh yeah, can you see that? It's this beautiful buttery yellow. I like the color, but I'm going to leave it in just a little bit longer and see if I can make it a more rich, vibrant yellow. And so now I'm going to check the alum skein to see how it is doing. And this I can already see is amazing. Look at this. Look at this color. This is exactly what I want. This is a perfect shade. So I'm going to pull this now. When you decide to pull yarn, remember it will dry a little bit of a shade lighter than it looks right now, but that's okay because this is perfect. So I have a bowl of warm water. Remember, don't shock the yarn. And now I'm going to put it into this bowl of water and I'm going to start to rinse. And at this point, most of those flower heads that were stuck in the strands of yarn are just going to slowly disentangle themselves. And I'm going to rinse the skein until the water runs clear. This water still has a lot of color in it, so I'm going to rinse this until the water runs clear. I'm always using warm water because I don't want to shock the wool. And look how easy the flowers come out. That's why I don't strain it. It's not a big deal, at least for me. So you notice the water here, a lot less color, but I can still see a tinge of yellow. So I'm going to rinse again. We've finished rinsing our skein, and it's this beautiful amber color. Now this is with the alum mordant, and this is exactly what I expected. I'm so excited with the result. So at this point, this dye is done. I'm gonna let it drip dry in my shower, and it'll be perfect and ready to use by tomorrow. For this other skein, the unmordanted one, I'm gonna keep it in the dye pot overnight. It's a beautiful buttery yellow right now, but I want to see if I can get a richer color if it's sitting in the dye for a longer period of time. Because that is what's fun about doing natural dyes, is the experimenting. Leave it in longer, take it out sooner, it's up to you. And once you do this dye, you are gonna want to try dyeing with all the different plants and flowers that you find in your garden. It's addictive, so much fun. I hope you enjoy it.